everybody. Good evening. This is the second in my new series of Chats with Sonia. So tonight we're going all the way to Canada to welcome our lovely, lovely friend Dakota Martin. Hi, Dakota.
Hi, Sonia.
Now we're 12 hours apart. So for me here in Oompa Loompa, it is nearly 10 p.m. So lucky you, it's 10 a.m. for you. But I realized we did it the wrong way around because I'm the only morning person. You're the night person.
That's all right. I got up early enough to have my coffee already, so we're all safe.
But ladies and gentlemen of Malaysia, why we did this is Dakota's in the most amazing place. And that's what I really wanted to do at this time when we're all separated. It's all a bit weird for us. We're all experiencing different levels of separation, and some people are anxious. So I thought the best thing to do, the most healing thing to do, is connect with all our lovely friends all around the world. And we couldn't have found a lovelier friend than you, Dakota. So, where exactly are you in Canada at the moment?
I am at my family's cottage, which is about an hour west of the capital of Canada, Ottawa, out in the middle of nowhere by a very frozen lake at the moment.
Whoa, so you're actually in serious isolation. You're alone, there's nobody there, right?
I am alone. Luckily, my parents are not far, just a 10-minute drive down the road, but I'm alone here at the cottage.
And you know what? I think the coolest thing about where your parents live is the fact that they live in Perth.
Yes.
Because I think everybody associates Perth with Australia or Scotland, but there is a Perth in Canada, ladies and gentlemen.
The much smaller and much less exciting Perth.
So it's winter time there right now, and I think it's pretty gorgeous weather. You're there in your nice winter shirt.
Well, it's supposed to be spring, but it's not. It's been lovely spring weather up until this morning, but you've called it a good time to catch some good true Canadian weather.
How many degrees Celsius is it? Do you know in Celsius?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's about 2 degrees Celsius this morning.
Get out of here. That's about 30 degrees less than it is here.
Yes, yeah. It
So,
has been nice and about 10 or 12 degrees every day, but this morning it is 2 and a bit of a blizzard outside at the moment.
oh, fantastic. This is so exciting. I'm just so excited. Calm down, Sonia. So, for those of you who don't know, Dakota joined us in MPO playing principal flute with us for, I think, at least 12 weeks over the last 2 years.
Yeah,
But
something like
I
that.
want you to tell everybody the story of your last visit here, which is when the world went crazy. So, you came and joined us and you were playing a program. I wasn't, there was no piccolo. So can you tell us what your last memory of Malaysia is, please?
Well, so it would have been about a month ago now that I arrived in Malaysia and was the plan was to stay for 3 weeks and
Mm.
play a portion of the MPO's Beethoven Festival. Um, so the first week's program was Beethoven 1 and Beethoven 2. So we had fully rehearsed the program, spent the week rehearsing, and it was going great. And it was Friday morning, the morning of the concert, that we found out that it wasn't going to be possible to have an audience for the concert. But MPO decided to hold the concert anyways and play to an empty hall, which was a bit of a strange experience, but turned out to be really nice. And I think everyone on stage sort of understood that we probably wouldn't be playing in a big group like this, getting to play this great symphonic repertoire for quite a long time. So it was a nice moment for all of us to sort of have one last hurrah before this sort of imposed break that we're all having right now. So it
Yes.
turned out to be a really lovely concert experience, even though there wasn't an audience.
I can't wait to see it, actually. It's supposed to be live streamed at some point in time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure when that is. So my recollection is that we found a time. I was very busy teaching, and we decided to find a time to have coffee at Chino's. And then the next thing I know, the next day, the scariest thing for a flute player in an orchestra is to see the phone actually ringing with a colleague's name on the phone, and you're like, what's happening? What's happening?
Usually that would have meant I slept in and was going to be late for rehearsal, but in this case, no.
I still remember getting your call, and you're like, I'm not sure if you know what's happening, Sonia. Yeah, so we were just so glad that you could actually get away, because you would have been stuck here. You had to go straight back to Canada.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I ended up buying a flight on Friday afternoon and doing the live recording Friday evening, and then leaving back to Canada early Saturday morning.
I think you've got one of the best stories of the whole adventure.
But yeah, I was very lucky to be able to get a flight and to be able to get home in time and all that. So it all turned out.
It did. It turned out, and the most important thing is that you were safe and that you could actually get to your home country and be with your family, except you're quarantined in this gorgeous. Tell us a little bit about actually where you're staying. It's the family hut, or I don't know what you call it in Canada.
I really couldn't complain about having to be quarantined for 14 days, to be honest. I had a pretty ideal situation here in the family cottage. I was very lucky. As I said, my parents live just 10 minutes down the road. So when I arrived in Canada, my mom had filled the fridge with food so I didn't have to leave to go to the grocery store. And my dad had dropped my car off at the airport so I could drive myself from the airport to the cottage. So I had it pretty good during my 14 days of quarantine, I must admit. Yeah, as I said, we're sort of out in the middle of nowhere with just lots of forest around us. So it was great to be able to get outside and go for walks and go for runs and do lots of cooking and not that much practicing during my 14 days. So it was all good.
You said the word cooking, and I keep following all of your posts, and I'm like, I wish I was quarantined with Dakota, I tell you. So we'll probably get you to show us a little bit of outside a little bit later on. But you said there, so not so much practice for you. I guess that's a question that all of us are facing, because most of us have this hectic life of practicing concerts, traveling, teaching, packing, all of these kind of things. And then the world seems to have hit just an abrupt halt. And I know for some of us, I'm learning to do new things, like chats like this and doing some collaborative work with my students. And I think it affects everybody differently. Some people have gone into high practice mode. Some people have gone into have a break mode. And I know when we were chatting the other day, I was so excited to hear some of the other things that you were doing. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about, I was so excited to hear about your gardening project, actually, that your brother inspired, a little bit about your family. So your brother's a landscaper?
Yeah, so my brother, who also lives very close to here, is a landscaper. So I've switched gears quickly from a traveling flute player to a landscape assistant, which is exciting and well, I was gonna say fun. I'm not sure that fun's the word. It involves a lot of heavy lifting, but it's nice to have something to do to keep entertained. But yeah, one of my other sort of big projects now that I've realized that I'm going to not necessarily be playing concerts for the next little while is to try my hand at gardening. I've never been much of a gardener, but I do enjoy food. So I thought I'd use that as an excuse to plant a massive vegetable garden. So I'm just sort of getting started at that. As I said, it's currently snowing outside, so there's not a huge amount to do outside. But yesterday I got all my seeds planted in little in trays to germinate inside. So that's one thing that I've been keeping myself busy
That's so
doing.
exciting. You probably must know that I absolutely adore plants.
Yes, speaking of Instagram stories, I see many Instagram stories from this one about
But
the gardening.
I'm jealous of you though, because I actually want to grow proper plants that produce and vegetables, like you say. But as you said to me the other day, with nobody around in KL, the monkeys are taking over.
Yeah,
So much
I'm
as
sure.
I like the vegetables, the monkeys do too.
Yeah. Well, we don't have monkeys here, but we do have to put up fences so the deer don't get them. So everywhere has their fair share of things that want to get at the vegetables.
Oh, you have to. So, yeah, you were telling me that you were going to do like a home delivery service.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I mean, let's start with hoping that whatever seeds I planted yesterday actually grow. That's going to be step one, and then we'll go from there. I don't want to get too excited.
But plants work on positive energy, and you're so
Well,
lovely.
good. Well, I
So,
hope there's lots of that flowing around here.
yeah. And so, actually, when we were setting up this call, I caught you the other night because you're the night person, I'm the morning person. And you actually had a pair of knitting needles in your hands as well.
Yeah, of course.
I hope we get to see what you were doing. It looked absolutely amazing. So you've done some knitting, you've done cooking, you've done vegetable planting, you've done
I'm living
you've
a
done
very quaint life these days.
I think it's amazing. You've done beard growing.
A lot of beard growing. Yes. Yeah. I thought I should try to match the beard to the Canadian plaid shirt just to round out the whole look, you know?
All right, so you've done your cooking. Oh, and you also mentioned too, I think all of us are trying things a little bit differently because we've suddenly got this space to do things. And also with so many online classes now, if there's something new that we've always wanted to try, we can actually do it in a less embarrassing situation in our home. And I was so excited to hear you're doing yoga classes.
Yeah. Yoga classes and you're right, it's been great that you know, I've done a few yoga classes and also my personal trainer, who I usually go see when I'm living in Montreal, is doing online classes as well, which is usually a personal training session is a horrific and deeply embarrassing experience where I'm surrounded by many people lifting very heavy things and I'm sweating a lot and it's not cute for anybody. So this is great. I turn on the Zoom and I am in my living room and I can just, the main thing is I can stop at any point and I don't get yelled at. That's key.
Oh, you're so adorable. Oh, but do you know what? I'm wondering, who knows, when we look back on this conversation in a year or 5 years' time, I wonder if the world is going to go more that way after this is all finished.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has its advantages. I, yeah, I mean, I guess there's certain aspects that have been good, and it's great. We were talking the other day about how there's so many people that I wouldn't usually, you know, call or video chat with, that just because of the circumstances you find yourself reaching out people that you don't necessarily talk to that regularly,
Yeah,
which
I've
is
loved it
great.
actually
And I
because the world has really become text and email
yeah,
oriented. And even myself, I'm just like, guess what? I'm going to call somebody because guess what? They're actually going to be home.
well, yeah.
Oh, that's adorable. So your brother's in landscaping, and just on a serious note for a second, your adorable sister, she's one of the frontliners. She's actually a nurse dealing with some patients who have the coronavirus, you were saying also. So what's that
Yeah.
like in Canada? Or where
Uh,
your sister works in particular, yeah.
Yeah, so my sister's works in the emergency department at the Queensway Carleton Hospital, which is in Ottawa. Um, so yeah, luckily in Canada, we we haven't had a sudden extreme spike, at least at her hospital. So
Mm.
the hospital staff have hopefully, from what I've heard, are managing quite well and have enough protective equipment that they're all feeling safe doing their jobs.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's about having enough supplies to deal with everything.
Yeah,
And yeah, and but your sister has family, doesn't she? She's got to go home to her husband and
yeah,
kids, and so,
yeah,
but she's safe and secure and she's healthy herself and everything. And
yeah. Everyone in the family is healthy. That's been the hardest part, though, is that my family's very used to, that this is why we have this cottage, is that usually most weekends we all try to congregate here and spend some time together. But because of my sister's line of work, um, that sort of side of the family is kept separate. And then on top of that, my brother and his wife have just had their first baby. He'll be turning 3 weeks old this weekend. Um,
oh,
so, of course, that side of the family is sort of staying
separated.
separated as well. And then my parents. So for a family that's very used to being together all the time, it's strange for us to not be able to spend time together as much or at
Yeah,
all.
I think that's the hardest thing for everyone, which is why I've started to do these chats because it's just nice to see that everybody's got different ways of doing things. And yeah, and in a way it's making me want to connect even more than normal, that we appreciate the connections even more. So
Yeah.
oh dear. So can we have a look at some of your things there? Can you take us on a little tour? Can we see
Yeah.
your
Of
knitting? Can
course.
we see your
Oh,
you have
good. Okay.
no right.
What's that? Here, well, I'll pick up the iPad and take us on a little tour. Here,
Yay.
let me flip the camera here. All right, here we go.
Oh.
First, I'll show you the newly appointed greenhouse with
Oh.
the vegetables yet to sprout. Here we
You
are.
Fruit. That's how I know you're Canadian.
Spr-
And what's in
Here we
there?
can.
Which
Oh,
seeds are
here we
in there?
go. We have green beans and yellow beans, and some zucchini, and a few types of peas, and a few types of squash up the top there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Here's my little practice nook. You can see
Oh,
I have all the babies out here. We can come back.
now
Oh,
hang on, slow down, slow down, slow
slow
down.
down.
I don't see a piccolo there.
I have been practicing piccolo, I promise. It's just not out on the table.
Would you
It's
mind?
close at hand.
Oh, that's good. I'm pleased to hear that. I may have had to hang up this call right there and then. So I recognize the big silver piccolo there.
The giant silver piccolo.
Yeah, can you just go back to that? Because I'd just love you to introduce your four flutes to everybody.
Oh, sure. So
Yeah.
as I said, I haven't been doing a huge amount of
Mm,
really intensive practice, but I'm a bit of a habitual flute collector, and I
yeah.
don't always have time to get to play all of my different babies. So that's been part of the fun for me, is just sort of trying to learn new stuff on different flutes and experiment. But yeah, here I'll give you a quick tour of the ones I have out on the table. There's the gold flute that everyone knows and loves.
That's your gorgeous Brannon, right?
My gorgeous Brannon with a Manca head joint. Yeah.
Oh, are we allowed to do that? That's publicity, isn't it? Are we
Is
supposed
that,
to?
I think, it's all right. We'll send them the video, and I'm sure the paycheck will be in the mail. This is my Baroque flute that I love very much, and I've
And
been
that's
playing.
one key.
Yeah, so this is a one key, made in boxwood. This is made by a man called Martin Venner,
Mm-hmm.
a German flute maker. A copy of an instrument that was originally made in the 1780s by a German maker called Palenka.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is my newest toy, which I
Wow.
just got a couple months ago.
That's not a piccolo either.
This is not a piccolo. I'm not even quite sure what this is, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. It's a mystery. It somehow manages to have too many keys and not enough keys at the same time.
Oh,
It
sounds like
is
a
it is a
clarinet.
yeah, it does look quite a bit like a clarinet actually.
Oh.
It is a 13-keyed romantic flute. This one's actually an original instrument that was made probably in the late 1880s or early 1890s.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it has
That's
a completely different fingering system that I've
So is
been
that
sort
more
of
what you've been attracted to do with this whole spooky situation, with this freaky situation that we're all in? Is that the instrument you've been more inclined to try at such a strange time, or?
yeah, well, I've just because I bought this instrument and then sort of was immediately on tour and in Malaysia and traveling all the time, so I never really had the time to sit down and actually figure out how to play it. So it's been nice to have the time to just take to sort of experiment and see how it
That-
all works.
It looks gorgeous. It must have cost you at least $10.
At least, yeah.
Awesome. And I saw a fourth one there as well, Dakota.
Yeah, and then this is sort of, if I'm honest, what I've spent most of my music time doing. This is my lovely Irish flute,
Woo!
which is fun. This was made by my friend Alexandre Lavoie, who's a really great flute maker, Irish flutes, and he makes awesome wooden head joints as well. One of those
Right.
too.
And how
It's
come you've got
lovely.
all of these? Oh, sorry to interrupt you. Just
That's
before you
okay.
show
I
off
was
what you've got.
just doing my plug so we can get more patrons.
Oh,
You see.
do the plug. Go for the plug.
Yeah, just that he makes. Oh, the flute's rolling around here. He makes lovely wooden head joints for metal bone flutes as well. This is another little
Sorry,
toy that
his
I've been
name.
experimenting
I
with.
think our connection cut there a little bit. What was your friend's name who makes the gorgeous head joints?
Oh, Alexandre Lavoie.
Alexandre Lavoie.
There we are.
Excellent. So when I finish this and I post this in our little Flutist in Malaysia group, what I might do is get some links to some of those people that we've spoken about, and I'll put them in the comments section down there. How about that?
Sounds great.
And maybe whichever one is your favorite, maybe when we hang up on the call, you could do a little 2-minute solo on one, and I could post the video later on as well. Maybe.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Okay, should we continue our tour?
I would love a tour because it's probably
Alright.
like nothing most people here have seen in their lives. I remember when I first met Henrik seeing snow for the very first time in Sweden,
Yeah.
and I thought I'd landed in Narnia.
Well, here, we'll take a quick trip outside.
Are you actually going to step outside in your shirt?
Yeah. Well, of course.
Woo!
So, it's hard to see the snow on the camera, but it is in fact snowing. And you can see out there is the lake, which is
Dakota,
still
just 1
frozen.
second.
Oh,
Hang on a second. Slow down. I think the internet. Yes, there we are.
there we are.
Guess what? You froze and it froze. It's
The Wi-Fi isn't so great out here. I'll stay back closer to inside.
Yeah. So is that a lake? And that's frozen over?
Yes. So right there, this is the lake, which is still frozen. The ice should be coming off the lake relatively soon. Some of the other lakes in the area are already open water, but we're still waiting for this one.
So do you go out there and test it every day and hope? I mean,
Absolutely not. Usually in the dead of winter, when it's properly frozen, we do spend lots of time out there on the ice fishing. But this time of year, definitely not.
See, that's my ignorant North Australian person here asking this stupid question. I'm like, oh, it's frozen. I still remember the first time, again, like I said, in Sweden, and I said to Henrik, I really want to make a snow person.
Yeah.
And I thought he was being a typical Swede and joking, and he said, no, you can't. It's too cold. I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? It's too cold. And it literally was. The snow was too dry. It wouldn't
Yeah.
stick together.
Yeah.
I thought he was just being mean and didn't want to entertain me or help me or anything.
No. You have to have the ideal snowman snow for sure.
Awesome. So,
Okay.
no, it's really nice. Thank you so much for getting up early to chat to us and show us your gorgeous
My
place.
pleasure. Here's
But
where the
Ooh,
set of all the here, this is my newest adventure of sourdough bread baking. It's not going that well. I won't lie to you. This has sat out all night. Hasn't really risen that much. Not all of the cooking experiments go exactly to plan, but that's all right.
I think you have to sit it next to the plants. They need to
I
have
guess.
growing energy together.
They can feed each other energy.
So, where's your knitting? We want to see you knitting.
Here's the knitting. This is the back of a sweater that I'm working on.
Get out of here.
We
And do you do that with a pattern or anything?
Yeah. I have a pattern that I have to follow.
I think I want to come to quarantine with you for definitely. There is bread, there is plants, there's 4 different flutes with amazing head joints with the maker who will put down here for people. Yeah. Hey, but just on a serious note, also too, so obviously you're there spending time. I don't know what your lockdown situation is, but I know you had some jobs coming up. You'd won a trial in the Hong Kong Sinfonietta, and you were doing some things in your own country. But now that you're in limbo, what's happening with all those things? I think you mentioned something about your government very kindly helping out people like you in the situation.
Yeah. Well, as is the case, I think everywhere, all of our concerts have been canceled through the rest of this concert season and through most of the summer as well.
Yeah.
Which is very difficult, obviously, for people who are freelancers like me, and yeah, who obviously require that income to pay the bills. So, but yeah, we're very lucky. The Canadian government has created a relief fund specifically for self-employed workers that we can apply for and receive some funding every month to help cover our expenses.
Oh, well, we wish you all the best. That's so lovely of the government. That's some relief, but
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, so the world, we really don't know what's going to happen in the world, and we're all in a similar situation of just not really understanding what's going on. But you're in touch with nature there, and I've even noticed around here in KL, there's more birds coming around, there's more monkeys coming around. So while it's difficult for us, I think the earth is enjoying having a little bit of a break from the humans.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So I think that's about good time to wrap it up, because you've probably got another cup of coffee that you have to go.
There's always another cup of coffee to drink.
No, that's awesome. And lots of love to your gardening brother who's going to help you on your venture.
Thank
To
you.
your sister who's really doing amazing things. We're so grateful for people like her.
Absolutely.
And of course to your mum and dad who keep you supplied with all of your things there.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent, Dakota. So we look forward to hearing some of your playing, and anytime you want to keep us updated with anything, please do, because we've loved everything that you've done in Malaysia. You gave us great classes and great concerts, and hopefully we can play together again really soon.
Absolutely. And hopefully, yeah, I hope I can be back in Malaysia to come play or to come visit or just to come eat sometime soon.
I think the restaurant owners want you back.
They will miss me, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dakota. You have a
Thank
great
you so
day.
much.
Thank you. Bye.